Jeremy.
Michael.
Hello. Good man.
What is going on?
You are a beautiful man. I don't know that I've ever just come out and told you that, but you're a beautiful man.
I've heard that a few times, but I
I
appreciate
bet
it.
you, I bet you have.
Yeah. You're looking fresh today,
I
Mike.
got
You
all
trimmed your
my hairs
whiskers?
cut. Got all my hairs cut. Look at that. Look at that.
Nice.
Got all my hair.
I wish I had that. I wish I had that much.
They won't even give you a coupon, brother. It
No,
don't take long to cut that mug.
no, it don't.
Hey, good to
What's
see
going on,
everyone
guys?
tonight. Here it is, the WashTube podcast, as we call it, the worst podcast ever. We have 25 people
Mm,
already in the house, and tonight we are going to be discussing cheap people. Cheap people.
cheap people.
Yep.
Ooh,
So that should
sounds
be
like
fun.
clickbait.
That does. That does sound like clickbait, doesn't it?
Sounds like clickbait.
Mm.
Let's see if I can get this shared out now.
Please do. Please do. Good to see everyone. I'm going to click over here to the comments, see what we got going on already. And guys, forgive me. I'm going to have to either scoot back or take my glasses off because I can't see anything anymore. I got to get me some new bifocals or something, showing my age here. Tommy Bain, my brother, Elijah Daniels, Nicholas Lafave. I like that, Lafave. Scott Terry's in the house, of course, as always. Keith Pickens, love your logo. Arnie Ryder, Skyrise. I don't know that guy very well. Christina,
Who's that?
Skyrise. I don't know. I have no idea who he is.
Who's that guy?
Yeah. So good to see
Christina,
everyone.
G and C and Nick and James and Griffin. Yo, fresh. That's my line, bro.
It's Trevor's in the house with us. GBC Soft Wash. As you said, Nick. So good to see everybody. James Rowland. Oh my goodness, we've got a great little room tonight.
Nice.
Griffin Jones. Yo Fresh.
Nice.
Good to see everybody. Jordan Stewart.
Get this shared out into some Facebook groups.
Mr. Wisconsin, Nicholas himself. Simply Clean Pressure Washing. Howdy, my brother. So good to see everybody. Well, the elephant in the room is a question. Is anybody actually working? Like, is anybody actually washing out there in YouTubeville? In Washland? It's barren, dry country. Like, just not a lot going on.
Yeah.
I'm still blessed. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No. I actually sewed a gutter guard job today, and
Don't tell Mike. Don't tell Mike Levan.
I've got time to do it. So
That's
I
right.
was like, yeah. He was adamant about it, and I was like, well, okay.
Don't tell Mike Levan. He'll outcast you. I've only done.
They're going to get it. He's going to get it installed somewhere. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. What do you charge for gutter guards?
So I like to look at obviously the scope of the job. I mean, is it going to be straightforward? Is it got gutters all the way around? Am I having to make miters, 1 story, 2 story, whole slew of things? But
sure,
the basic of the basic for me, it starts out at $8 a foot.
$8 a foot.
This is the basic of the basic. There's gutter runs. There's no. There's like 3 little miters on like one little portion, which that's pretty straightforward. And that's it, man. About 175 feet total.
Dude. And of course that includes the gutter guards themselves.
Yeah, so you get, the gutter cleaning comes in it. You clean your gutters, flush your downspouts, and then the material and the labor cost, just for uh, purposes. I'll share it. This is like I said, it's 175 feet. The ticket's $1,500. Probably could have been more. I probably could have went up a little bit on it, but at the end of the day, it's like I said, it's a straightforward gutter cleaning and a straightforward install. And the material that we opted to use, I told him, I like them for the purpose of it, unless you've got pine needles, and then I'm not a fan of these. But he has no pine needles in sight, so it ended up being the materials costing me $1.95 a foot.
Good for you. Good for you. That's good money.
It's not bad. I mean, for a half a day's work.
Oh, Tommy Bain says he picked up 4 houses today. You're killing it.
Tommy's a beast.
And then
when I grow up, I'm gonna be like Tommy.
Yeah, me, you, me both. Keith Pickens says picked back up. Yep, picking back up.
Let's see.
Listen, Nicholas says, so glad to hear you say that about being slow at the moment. Yeah, I know. Misery loves company. Misery loves company.
Yeah, it's going around everywhere, I think.
Patrick says, anybody want to buy a wash rig that looks just like Joe Deary's? Tommy's got a lot of gutter cleaning going on. Just reading through the comments here, but we are going to talk about cheap people here in just a moment. And it may go in directions that you might not automatically in your head be thinking where it's going to go. Tommy Bain says he's doing $12 to $15 a foot for gutter guards.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I will charge $12 a foot on some pretty hard installs. Plus, like I said, I feel like if we were using a different kind of material, it would definitely be higher. But they were fine with what we discussed.
Hey, Elijah, when you say, so Elijah has a question, is anybody about to start gutter cleaning ads? I'd say there's a lot of people who've already started, but he said, I normally start a few October 1st. I think it has a lot to do with your geography and where you're at. And when you say gutter cleaning ads, what are you talking about? Are you talking about pay to play kind of stuff, or are you talking about the generic throwing them out there on Facebook free stuff? I know you're just joking. I know you're joking, Patrick. Patrick sleeps with his rig, so
yeah, he sleeps in the front seat.
Arnie did gutter guards today. Man, we got the comments coming in. All right, let's talk about cheap people a little bit. Hey, you know what? We haven't done a WWJ. What do we call it? What would Jeremy WWJD in a long time?
Okay,
let's start with that one.
Okay, let's see what you got.
Yeah, I'm going to do this one off the cuff as I kind of read through some of these. Jeremy, what do you do when you get those guys who are asking for discounts? We'll kind of chip away at this a little bit. We might have a few different scenarios, and this will bring about some conversation and some comments in the comment section. How do you handle, Jeremy, just across the board, generally speaking, how do you handle cheap people? People who want to continue to chip away at your starting price.
How do I normally handle it? Well, I mean, I kind of handle it.
Generally speaking,
I don't let them chip away. I mean, generally speaking, we don't get to chip away at prices of
of anything.
Of prices. Yeah, I mean, really, in general, I do get the occasional. Uh, is that your, is that your cash price? So, all right, buddy. Uh, I get some of those guys, and I feel like that's kind of an expected thing, just in any service industry. Because I mean, I've asked those questions too. Like, hey, is that a cash price? And I don't know if it's just maybe where we're geographically located at. If that's something that's, I don't want to say common, but I'm not big on letting anyone chip the price down. I mean, the price is the price, unless I feel like I could lower it. I always feel like there's exceptions if they're, generally elderly or widowed or something of that nature. But just because, I hate saying just because you're broke and don't have the money, don't mean I have to, you know, I don't want to be broke and need the money too. So,
Right. Yeah, I have people tell me that they have or that they're on a fixed income, and I say, boy, I wish my income was fixed. It's broken, brother.
yeah,
It's broken and it's shattered into 1,000 different pieces.
yeah, for sure.
So I think one of the
I
things
mean,
that we go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
No, sir.
No, I'm my light's looking funny.
I was going to say that I think one of the things we have to be careful of is just assuming that people are being cheap. I think one reason we automatically go to they're being cheap is because what we do, by and large, mine is gutter cleaning and maybe some insurance claims on roofs. But most everything that we do is a luxury service, right? So, like last week,
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, whatever it was, when I went to wash uh, a two driveway pads for a woman in a beautiful home, and she's a widow lady. And then afterwards, she asked me if I would look at walkout patio area, and it wasn't terribly big, but I said, yeah, we'll do that for three. I'll do it for $300. And she looked at me like I had four heads. She said, "Oh, I'm on a fixed income. I can't do that." And I'm confident she wanted me to come down on my price, obviously. But I'm
Yeah,
confident she thought that I was going to. And I just said, I completely understand. I said, when you're able to afford it, you got my number. I'll be here quick as can be. But I completely understand, just gave her that. And I think she was dumbfounded that I didn't come down on my price. But here's the thing: driveway cleaning is or concrete cleaning of just about any kind is a luxury service. It doesn't have to be done,
yeah,
especially if you're not selling your home where it's not slick or something of that nature. So I think there's some things we just can't come down on our prices.
yeah. I had a phone call. Maybe this was 2 days ago. I don't think it was yesterday. It's 2 days ago. I'm pretty sure. Gentleman called me, and I, for the most part, don't give the price over the phone, unless it's. I could tell in his voice he was a little bit older, and we were having a discussion, and he said, "I've got a small double wide, and I'm needing to get it cleaned. How much will that cost me?" I said, "When you were saying small, what are you considering small?" And I know, even a big double wide at the most part is, not overly huge or complicated, but
Right.
anyways, it was like a 24 by, I don't know, like a 52 or something. I think probably 1,200 square feet, less than 1,500 square feet. It's a rectangle, man. It ain't hard. And I just told the guys, our standard price for a double wide of that size, is around 325. But you would have thought the guy had a heart attack.
Mm. Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'm 80 years old and I'm on a fixed income." I said, "I understand that, sir." I said, "That's just the price that that we have to be at, and what we charge on a home of that size." I said, probably the absolute cheapest thing that I would wash would be a single wide, and I would probably be about $250 for that. And I don't even wash any of those unless it's someone that I know personally.
Right.
So, but that would be it. And I always say, like, my minimum price is $325 for home, houses and homes and stuff.
Right.
Outside of gutter cleaning, but that's it.
It's interesting.
Maybe that's still too cheap. I don't know. I mean, I'm not asking you for your minimum price. You share that if you'd like, but if you want to, in the comment section, drop your minimum price down there for minimum price for a house wash. Don't
right.
you may have a minimum for something else, but we're just talking about houses.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's so interesting is I don't know that I have a minimum for a house washing per se. I have a $250 minimum, meaning that I don't go out for less than $250. But I have learned that neighbor comes over. I'm washing the house, and neighbor comes over and says, "Hey, I've got this 1-story house over. I just need one side." I'm not going to miss out on that. And so, I'll say, "How about $100 cash?" They'll give me $100 bill. I'm not going to. So I don't know. I always say I have a minimum, but the circumstances will dictate whether or not I follow through with that. So here's 2 case in points that I would use tonight that happened to me today. Maybe you're interested in this. Maybe you're not. So just this week, I was contacted by a gentleman who purchased several office buildings, millions of dollars here in real estate that they've purchased. This group that he and one other person own, I'm to understand. And they need one of the buildings washed, and the ticket came up to, like, I don't know, I can't remember now, but $1,500. These aren't massive buildings. They're also brick, and they're not that dirty. And I kind of wanted to get in there because I'd like to get all of them, so I didn't shoot too high. I said $1,500. He came back this morning, and he said, I'm not going to pull it up, but he said, "Mike, that's very expensive, and we just need the front washed." So I said, "I understand." And I said, I'll do just the front for $500. Again, it's brick, a little bit of soffit area, darn easy wash, $500. And then he came back as if we were negotiating. See, I wasn't negotiating at first. I was simply giving him the price for the whole building and then just the front. And he came back and said, "I'm getting other quotes," as if he was trying to scare me. And then he said, "If you'll do it for $400, I'll be glad to pay you $400. I came back and said, "I think that you should consider other quotes, because I'm sure that there's someone who will offer you a price that fits your budget. Thank you very much for your time." And I didn't hear anything back from him. That is what I mean by cheap people who do not understand where to spend money. Like this, spend millions on these buildings and won't pay $1,500 to have it cleaned.
Yeah. And that's just a proven point that there's people with money that are cheap people.
Ah, good point. Good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
And then my second illustration is this, and I'll make this one quicker. A lady messages me today and says, "By referral, I got your phone number. I need my home washed. What's the process?" I looked it up online. I went back and gave her the price. And then she came back and said, "I'm thinking about," she said, "I'm newly widowed." She gives me this thing. "I'm newly widowed," and she said, I'm a teacher's aide. Well, my wife's a school teacher, and I know what teacher's aides make. And I just happened to be literally blocks away from this house, washing another house on Monday. I came down $50, really more out of compassion for the woman, and I wouldn't have to drive much further, any further. And she said, "Okay, let's do it for that amount." So that wasn't someone who was being cheap. That was someone who is now in a different situation that she's ever been in. Could she have afforded the $50 more? Perhaps, but we both won. If I'm saying that correctly, we both won there, and now I got an extra wash. So this wasn't, in my estimation, someone who was being cheap.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Let's see.
Obvious obversation. I've never heard that one before. Richest man I knew was absolutely.
Say that 3 times real fast.
Yeah, obvious observations. I can't even say it once. Slow. He says the richest man I knew was an absolute scrounge and cheap piece of garbage. Treated his wife like garbage and would only allow her to get a $1.50 chicken wrap from McDonald's off the dollar menu. Wait, is that wrong? Are you telling me that's terrible? Oh gosh. So it's funny you mentioned that, because I was talking to Patrick Johnson on the phone yesterday when he heard me place my order at McDonald's for the $5 meal, and I was asking for upgrades to the $5 meal. You know, can I get extra onions on that? How much would that be? I mean, I'm telling you, things are bad. Things are bad. Scrooge.
I've heard you order that before.
Scrooge. Man, when I found out McDonald's was come back with a $5 meal, I mean, like, we had a party at my house. Let me tell you, we're eating out tonight, baby.
Wait till you get that biggie bag, son. That's funny. Cheapskate.
Yes, I am. I'm a cheapskate.
I'm missing a bunch of these comments. I'm trying to catch up.
Oh man, we've got a bunch of people in the house tonight, and we're glad that you're here with us. We're talking about cheap people.
Yeah. Here we go. Did you see Christina's comment? We didn't go through this one, did we?
Nope. Read that one for us.
I provided an estimate for a partial roof and wood deck wash, which he accepted, but then he requested a senior or special education teacher discount, even after I'd already given him a break. Yeah, so here's my response with that. Once you've accepted, then you ask for a discount. I've already given you my best price. Here's who gets discounts from me: veterans. And they only get it if they tell me. I'm not going out and asking. And most of the time, I don't even get them that ask me. You know who? It's usually the older generation that asks me about it. So we don't usually do, it just doesn't get asked that much unless it is someone who's older.
Yeah.
And gosh, should we talk about who we think is the cheap people, like, or the hardest ones to work with? I mean, I know we had this discussion the other day.
Oh boy.
So
just so you know, Jeremy, I wasn't planning on going there, but if you want to dig this grave, we can jump in it together.
Yeah. So let's dig it. Let's go. I mean, we've got 35 more minutes to go. So, and this is just pure observation, speculation, and 4 years of washing here, 4 seasons. In my opinion, the worst people to wash for, and maybe even the cheapest people, possibly, is old white men.
Old
white men. I mean, that's just my thoughts. Maybe it's just my neck of the woods. They like to haggle you on prices. They like to come behind you with the daggum inspection glass or whatever, and fine tooth comb everything, and then they always want you to hit something else for free while you're there.
Yeah.
And that's just a conversation that we've had. But what say you, Fresh?
Well, I'm going to answer that. Can we throw that question back up there, Jeremy?
I didn't mean to do that.
Let's see.
I don't even know where it's at
I
now.
think it's this one. I want to answer this question, and then I'm going to answer your question on who for me, are the cheapest people. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to lose some people when I say this. So the question is, how do you deal with someone who hasn't paid in a month and keep saying that they'll pay in a week? Obvious observations, couple of points here. One, you need a contract. If you don't have a contract, then you need a contract. If you have a contract and your payment plan, that's not the word I'm looking for. Is not in the contract. It needs to be, especially if it's commercial. But when I explain it in my pitch, that I'll be expecting payment upon completion of services. Now, maybe you did, and they haven't paid in a month. I think it has a lot to do with how much it is. Someone else that I talked to just today or yesterday was telling me that a commercial contract that they're really hoping to pick up a lot of work for hasn't paid in a month, literally 30 days. And they don't want to burn that bridge, but the person has since ghosted them. Like, well, it sounds like they're burning the bridge. There's a lot of scenarios here, and a lot of different things that maybe change the scenario. But for residential work, if they haven't paid in 30 days, first of all, that's far too long. If they haven't paid in 2 weeks, then I absolutely send them a reminder. If they haven't paid in 3 weeks, and I'm being somewhat generic here because it changes a little bit, but if they haven't paid in 3 weeks, they're getting a written letter and then a phone call and maybe even a visit. What about you, Jamie?
Well, first question is, do you have a signed contract or signed estimate? I mean, outside of maybe having something signed via text or via service agreement, hopefully you're using a CRM and you can have them sign that to accept it. And then you have your terms and everything inside that, then that's going to save you. But let's just face it. I mean, you could go put a lien on their property.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So, how far do you want to take it?
But you have to have.
I know the guys that do that, but you got to have that signed contract to do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true.
I guess you could just go by and paintball their house. I don't really know. Ding dong ditch. I don't really know.
You could throw eggs on their house and then charge them to wash it.
You wouldn't get paid.
You still wouldn't get paid. Okay, so to answer the question, I'll hide that current comment. The question that has been posed to me from Jeremy is, what's my cheapest customer base? Here I am trying to launch a new pay-to-play channel, and I'm going to lose half my congregation when I say this. Okay, but here we go.
She knows.
I can tell you right now. Well, Patrick Johnson, he's waiting for me to say this one. When I pull up into their driveway in front of their house, if they're waving a Trump flag, they're the cheapest people I've ever met in my life. I'm just telling you. And by the way, in our area where I wash, all of Southern Ohio is very conservative, myself included. Sometimes I'm hyper conservative. So that's coming from someone who's conservative. But I'm telling you, the Trumpsters, if they're waving a banner, they're going to talk me down on my price or try to. They're going to want more than what they initially agreed to, and they're not going to tip. They're not. I'm not getting a tip from hyper conservatives, and I tend to be one. So I know that maybe that's just my experience. And on the other hand, if they've got a rainbow flag in the front yard, not only are they the nicest people on the planet, they're the most generous people on the planet, hence the term liberal. They're very liberal in their giving. They're probably going to tip, and they're going to refer me to all their daggone friends and give me a 5-star Google review. I'm looking for windows that have a rainbow flag in it to go knock on those doors because they're the most generous people I know. Okay. I just got blacklisted by a whole bunch of people. I'm telling you.
Oh, shoot. That's
funny. How about this one?
Oh, sorry.
Old white churchgoers. You're probably right about that.
What he just described.
I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. I'm going through here, man. I'm way behind. At that point, I'm just like, what do you tell him? I mean, well, he's cheaper than me. Sell your service, sell your value. I don't really know, Elijah. I mean, if you wanted to lower it 75 to meet it, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want. I'm probably not going to. Yeah. I mean, unless I ain't got no gas in my tank and everybody's hungry at my house. They're desperate situations desperate times cause for desperate measures. So that's the way I like to look at it.
If I can respond to that, something I think most people probably wouldn't know about me is that I'm quite stubborn. That's probably the Irish in me or something, but I'm quite stubborn. And that's, by the way, that's not a good quality. I rebuke it all the time in the name of Jesus, and yet I tend to go right back to it. But when I've been in those situations, and I've been there a few times, Elijah, where the person says something to that effect, hey, I've already got a quote for $75 cheaper. I have a talk with them, and I say something like, I think that the best thing you should do is allow this person to wash your house because they meet your budget. I'll throw that back in their face. I probably don't meet your budget, but if that cheaper person meets your budget and that's all that you can afford, John, then I think that that's who you should go with. I want them to hear that they're cheap. I want them to hear that. Now, maybe that's not necessarily the case, and I'd like to think that I could decipher that. If the person's hurting, then maybe I will come down on my price. But if we're talking about someone who's just sitting there like this and says, well, now your competition's going to do it for $75 cheaper, I would say I don't have any competition. I'm not even in the game. I'm not even in the game, not playing. So yeah, he's not my competition. He's your employee. You can have him. I'm stubborn like that, and that's not the best way to be. I'll just tell you right off.
Well, I mean, you ain't wrong. I don't feel like there's a right or wrong answer to that, to what we're talking about. I guess that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. I think every situation's different. Here we go. I have 2 Trump bumper stickers on my truck. Maybe that doesn't help me out. I love you anyways, brother. Yes, Sean, Gavin, this is live, my friend. Gavigan.
So, Sean, what can you wash with SH? I mean, I guess you could technically wash whatever you want to wash, but Wood wise, for instance, they're in a house wash and they have a wooden deck. Are we spraying that down? Message you today. Well, you didn't message me. You must be messaging Mike. So there you go, Mike. But I didn't read that. Yes, man, I do. You mean I do? I ain't saying it's right. I ain't saying it's wrong. If you want to go through a 3-step process and do a restoration, you go for it. But I guess it depends on how bad the deck is.
You did message me yesterday, and Jeremy, this is the one I was telling you about that I directed him to the podcast because it was so lengthy,
Okay.
and I thought it might be a good idea for Sean to jump in here and ask that question. Would you care to throw that back up there if you don't mind?
Sure.
And so Sean asked this question: What can you wash with SH? Let's answer that one first. And of course, he says wood wise. So in other words, in terms of wood, what can you wash with SH? So the problem with washing anything that's wooden with sodium hypochlorite is it's going to clean, but you're going to have to go back with some kind of a process to rinse that off very heavily. So let's say you've got a wooden deck, Sean, and you've rinsed it's green. So you need to kill the organic growth. Then you can wash it down with SH, but then you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to either with a green tip or a 25-degree tip or maybe even a M5 twist, and you're going to have to knock all of that off again. And then this is the 3-step process that Jeremy was talking about. Then you're going to have to go back with an acid like an oxalic acid and brighten it up and clean it up again. That's not what we kind of avoid that, really, don't we, Jeremy? Unless it's a restoration job.
I even try not to clean decks, okay, unless they're painted or Trex. I'm almost. It's took me this long to say no to wood. Like someone said, we got a wood deck. I'm like, I'm not your guy. Can I clean it? Yeah, I can clean it. I just don't like cleaning it. It's too much. It's too much hassle for what people want to pay in my area.
Right.
I know, but I don't really. I'm just. So I guess essentially I just price on everyone out of the range. But every now and then you get one, and I don't like it. I'm probably, in fact, just going to say no. And one thing it is when I do get these now, and I always just let them know, hey, we'll rinse it off.
Yeah, we'll do a good rinse.
That's what I say. We'll do a basic clean and rinse. Just, a light rinse on it. That's all we do. And that's no more than with an M5 twist. I don't want no part of it.
Can I take just a moment and tell you that Joe Deary, this is how Joe Deary does it. Joe never passes up a deck, but he tells them in advance what the outcome is going to be. He doesn't go through and do a wood restoration, but he'll tell them, I will spray my product, my algicide, if you will, on the deck. It's going to kill the algae and it's going to brighten it up. Now, what the customer needs to know, and I don't know if Joe tells them this or not, but if at this point, if that's all we're going to do, you can't go back and stain it. It won't adhere to the wood. So I kind of follow that as well. I don't care to spray a deck down with sodium hypochlorite, but I don't get into what we might call a restoration process at this point. So I asked him in advance, well, what are you going to do with the deck afterwards? Are you going to stain it? And if they say yes, I say, then what you really should do is call someone who specializes in decks and allow them to give you a quote for washing it and staining it. But Jeremy, if they say, no, I'm not going to stain it, I just need this thing cleaned up, I need it brighter, whatever, and I'll tell them, I will do that at this price. And this is why. And this goes back to what Joe Deary says. Joe Deary doesn't pass up on a deck wash because it creates a customer base for him to wash the house next year, the driveway, clean out the gutters, so forth and so on. Because whoever's going to wash the deck eventually is going to wash the house as well. and that makes sense to me. But I really don't have a lot to do with it. So
That's fair. That's
I
fair.
almost hope they say no. I almost
Yeah.
just hope they say no.
So you mentioned Sean had commented, "Is this live?" And then he said he had a question, and then he said he wants to put license insured on the side of his truck.
Mhm.
But he was just in a pressure washing group where they said there's no such thing as a license. Do you have a response for that?
Yes,
I
there
always
is.
thought that.
It's called a business license. You should absolutely be
Uh,
licensed in your city, in your state. And if you're not, then you're not considered even by Google to be a legitimate business. So you are licensed.
yeah,
You're just not a licensed pressure washer. You're right. There's no. You might be a certified. You can get a certification from a plethora of groups for a small minimal fee, and they'll give you a logo, and you can put that on your truck, and that's all cool and good and well, and you can put it on your shirt. But yes, my truck says licensed and insured. I think it does. But all of my advertisement says licensed and insured.
yeah. I feel like maybe some people have. Maybe I feel like some have had their license number on their business license number.
Yeah, but it would be a business license, not a pressure washing license.
Yeah.
Mike, do you downstream sodium hydroxide or spot treat it with a sprayer? It depends upon what it is that I'm washing. If I'm doing like a garage floor, then I just put it in a pump sprayer and go with it. If I'm doing a whole driveway, then I downstream it. And let me encourage you, Prestige, if you're going to do that, if you're going to downstream it, make sure that you've got something protecting your legs, especially if you got legs like mine, bro. These things get me more jobs. I don't want to ruin that. By the way, can you see that right there? Is that showing up on the camera on my ring finger? Do you see that, Jeremy?
I do.
That is one tiny drop of sodium hydroxide that nearly ate through my finger. And it got behind my ring finger, and I knew it very, very quickly. So I haven't wore a ring in 2 weeks just because of that.
Yeah.
Sodium hydroxide. So make sure you got your legs covered.
Yes, I have a terrible scar on my ankle from where our son ran down, and I had an ankle sock on with my boots.
Ooh.
So now I wear calf socks, mid calf, whatever you're gonna call them, mid calf socks. Wear the long socks now. So
Hey, Jeremy, is that your house? No, but did you put the lights on that house?
I did put not my house. It's nice. Hopefully, we'll be getting them lights back up sooner than later on that one. And yes, don't judge me because right here where my little mouse, if you can see that, there's a light bulb that was out when I took that picture, but we fixed it right afterwards. And I did not take another picture.
That's great.
Here we go.
Hey, Jeremy, what's your method for rust removal and red clay? Christopher says he'll be in Hawaii soon, you dirty dog. And red clay is bad out there.
Well, I'd hate to know how much some chemicals cost out in Hawaii, first off.
Golly.
I bet the price is crazy out there.
Mm.
Yeah, so my method for that is wet the surface down. I use EcoChem One Restore is my choice of chemical for rust removal and red clay. I generally spray it straight. I don't cut it or anything. I guess you could really cut it to 50-50 if you wanted to try to preserve it, but I just hit it hot and rinse it off, and it comes off. That's you may have to do 2 or 3 applications depending on the severity of it, but that's my method. Mike's method might be slightly different.
Nope, right there with you. And then Derek asks, how many ounces per gallon when downstreaming sodium hydroxide? For me, it is 2 cups per 5-gallon bucket of water. So you have to kind of decipher that per gallon. But I do 5-gallon buckets and 2 cups, and also mix a little bit of soap in there and get you some nice suds going on if you're going to spray a drive-through at a restaurant or whatever.
When I clean the restaurants, I was always at 1 cup per gallon.
1 cup per gallon or 5 gallon?
It would melt. Yeah, it would melt. It would melt it like 1 cup per gallon.
Yeah, that's
it was hot.
That's hot.
I mean, you could just ball valve rinse it right off.
No, it's not expensive, so why not?
Yeah, it's not. That's true, but it's probably why I got scars on my ankles. But anyways,
I'm just going to address this right here. Scott says, did the price of sodium hypochlorite go up for you, Mike? Mine did. Well, you can kiss my butt because I know how much you pay for sodium hypochlorite. This guy pays 80 cents a gallon, and he's complaining about it going up. Probably went up to 90 cents. Bless your little heart. And I never did like him much anyway, so I'm just teasing.
I am so far away on these comments.
I know, man. 64 in the room tonight. How is he doing 80 cents? He gets it from the company where he works. He works for a company that has sodium hypochlorite brought in for some other reason, and he buys it off of them. That's how he gets it. So listen to this.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'll go back and find it real quick. Here we go.
Yeah.
He said he went up from 88 cents to $1.11 a gallon. Whew. Gosh, how are you going to do it, Scott? You might as well fold it up.
Scott, I don't know why you don't start a distribution business.
Yeah, you ought to sell it. And he'd probably get fired if he.
Hey, where's he located at there? Where you located at, Scott? We're at in East Tennessee.
Kingsport, Tennessee.
Kingsport? He's over
in
there.
Kingsport.
I get mine comes pretty much out of Morristown for the most part. It comes Bean Station.
Gino, most of the time, sodium hydroxide is used for grease and oil removal. You can also use it on wood. But most of the time when we talk about it in our industry, it's for grease and oil.
It's considered a degreaser, Gino. That's what a lot of these degreasers are consistent of.
So sodium hydroxide is 100% lye. It's the same stuff you would put in your drain if you had grease trapped in your drain, and you can buy it right off the shelf. 100% lye. Red Devil, for instance. In fact, what I use is Red Devil, and I get it in 5-gallon buckets. But yeah, same stuff.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to shift gears for a little bit. We've got 10 minutes left. I want to shift gears for just a second. We're talking about cheap people, and up till now, we've directed all that attention to our customer base. Well, let's talk about cheap pressure washers, shall we, Jeremy?
Oh, I didn't see this one coming.
This was an uppercut and a left
curveball.
Curveball. That's right. I know some cheap pressure washers out there as well. Will not spend a dime, and they are trying to get every single thing they can for free and for cheap. And I got a lot to say about that, more than 10 minutes worth.
Well, what say you, Carmody?
I want to say this by word of encouragement. Charles says, I'm a cheapie. Well, no, you're not. I've seen your truck wrap and your rig. You're the last thing.
Your van's legit, Charles.
Yeah, you're legit. And by the way, I know Charles isn't cheap. He bought my lunch more than once. So, and that's a true story. Every time I see Charles, I know we're going out to eat nice. Mr. Bates going to buy my supper. So I have changed a little lingo, my own lingo, and I hope that this will come by way of an encouragement to some guys who are struggling to buy upgraded equipment, struggling to get the truck wrapped. You just can't. I mean, like you just cannot part ways with that kind of money. You're like, I know guys who, if they could, they would filter gutter or roof wash out of the gutter to try to save it for a house wash. You know what I mean? Like, we know cheap people.
You remember that show used to come on TLC? Was it called Cheapskate or something like that?
I had to look that one up.
I mean, it was crazy. I just remember this because I saw this earlier, and there was a guy that like took a shower with his clothes on and washed his clothes while he washed himself, and then he catched the water in the tub, and then he used the 5-gallon bucket of water from the shower at the end of the week to flush the toilet.
Golly. I guess if if you're Amish or you're just backwoods and you enjoy it as a hobby, maybe, I guess, like saving money in that way. But there are some people who are legitimately cheap. So the word that I want to use a lot now, that I use a lot now, instead of saying buying things or paying for things, the word is investment. I'm gonna let my dog out real quick.
An investment.
So I did not buy a truck wrap. I invested in a truck wrap. I didn't buy an 8 GPM machine. I invested in it. Same with my 10, same with my Mini Mondo. I know that those things are among the more expensive purchases, but I'm no longer buying things. I'm investing in things. Another word that I'm using when buying equipment in particular, Jeremy, is I'm no longer saying I bought that. I say I hired that. I hired an 8 GPM machine because we would only hire someone if they were going to bring us revenue, like if hiring them was going to make a difference in the bottom line. And my 8 GPM machine, I added it up the other day, has brought, in terms of revenue, well over $1.5 million. So it didn't cost me anything. It has only made me money, you see. So it's an investment that I hired to work for me. And by the way, when you think of it in those terms, guess what? I hired an 8 GPM machine. I hired a Mini Mondo. I hired a 10 GPM machine. I hired a big, huge rig. And every one of them show up every day to work for me. They never call in sick. And if they do have a hiccup, I'm the doctor and I can fix it. Right?
Dr. Fresh.
If you've got employees and they don't show up and you have to wait in their driveway for them to put on their socks, then you know what it is. That's very frustrating. None of my employees have ever called in sick because my employees are named Honda and Delavan and Mini Mondo, right? So you got to change your mindset. Stop being cheap.
Well, sometimes when Remco just don't show up, it just don't ever show up again.
But you know what? I've got a backup for Remco. And Remco's I threaten Remco all the time, like, dude, you better work because as soon as you're done, I got another guy who's going to replace you. And all of a sudden, Remco's get his act together.
Got a twin, son. Got a twin.
Got a twin brother. Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah. Stop being cheap. I've never had any employees walk off the job. No. I had a few of them run out of gas.
Come work for you. I'm gonna come work for you for the day and just leave.
But I say that with a big old smile on my face as if, I'm kind of being funny. But in all seriousness, you'll change the way that you look at your equipment when you consider them to be employees. I'm going to do a video on that one. You'll look at your equipment differently when you consider it to be a thing that you've hired to do a job. That once you've paid for them, once they're paid for, they just keep bringing you in money. Imagine having an employee that pays you. That's what your equipment is. So stop being cheap when you buy it.
Absolutely. I was pretty cheap starting out myself. By building everything, buying the cheap stuff, doing the Predators. It worked because that's what it worked. It allowed me to get to where I'm at now. I don't regret it, but because I just didn't have the money to do it, and I wasn't going to go in debt for this business. So
fair. That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair. When's my shirt coming?
TJ asked, is Squirt still cleaning? She is not. She got a job at a daycare and she loves it. I don't blame her. I was talking about Patrick, getting a job there as well. Go ahead.
No. I was just talking about Patrick. He's telling me to wake up. I've been up since 4 o'clock, man. I'm tired.
I bet you are.
4 o'clock a.m. I've been a little under the weather, Patrick. I ain't been feeling so hot.
I'm guessing Mr. Toybox says, what's Jazzy's miles per gallon? I think it's more what's the gallons per mile than it is the miles per gallon. I'm going to guess somewhere around 9 miles a gallon. It's gas, by the way. Scott Surface Cleaning. I'm going to take my glasses off for this one. Mike, my next big purchase is going to be an 8 GPM machine. That day I pulled the trigger on your machine, I fell in love with it. So when I was working, the story here is this. When I was working in Virginia on our rental, Scott happened to be around the corner. He didn't even know where it was. And he messages me and says, hey, I'm in town. What would you think about getting together? I told him my location, and he was literally 3 blocks away. So he stops in. At that point, I think he had a 4 or a 5.5 GPM machine. And I struck up my machine and let him pull the trigger on that thing. And he said, forget about it. It's like when you drive my dad always said, don't drive a car you can't afford, because what you can afford at that point, you'll be miserable with. So, yeah, he's going to get him an 8 GPM machine. I hope that you do. I hope that happens for you real soon, brother. All right. It's time to hit the eject button, my friend. Vertical distance. Let's talk this. Greg says, what's your vertical distance you guys are getting for your 8 and 10 GPM machines? What say you, Jeremy?
I don't really know, Greg. I'm going to assume I know the 10's way better than, the 10's better than the 8, obviously. 4 stories? Maybe a little bit more with the 10. That sound about fair?
Yeah.
Always depending on the wind. Let's just throw that out there, which that's a given. Somewhere in that area. I don't know.
Yep.
It could be a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I've never just sat there and did like a vertical test to see.
Yeah, I know that with my 8 machine, I can wash at least 4 stories if the wind is right, kind of like my golf swing. I have to play the wind a little bit. I think I've never washed 5 with it, but I've gotten over the top of 4 stories. with my 8. I don't wash with the 10, so I don't know. But obviously, it would be a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Justin says, how much water do you carry to feed the 8 GPM machine? I have a 330-gallon tank, which I keep filled unless it's Friday at the end of the day. But that rig that I'm building in the 150, I have a 100-gallon tank. I've only washed 2 houses with it, and I don't have any problem with it. I think you can run a 100-gallon tank in the city with your 8 GPM machine. Maybe not surface cleaning, but house washing for sure.
Well,
it is my turn to pray, brother.
That's it, brother. Let's go.
It's good to see everybody this week. Once again, we'll be with you again, Lord willing, next week at 9 p.m. here on the worst podcast ever, the WashTube podcast. Praying for you, Jeremy. Jeremy's been under the weather, quite under the weather, but still hustling it out there. Praying for all of our guys down south. We know that you're fighting some storms down there. And then up north, extreme drought. We haven't had rain in 2 months. Lots of droughting going on up here in the northern country. So we're praying for everyone. All right, let's pray. Father, it is in the name of Jesus that we come to you tonight. We know that our blessings come from you because you said in your word, all good and perfect gifts come from the Father above. And so we want to give you praise and thanksgiving for the blessings of our life. One of the greatest blessings that you've ever blessed us with are the many friends that we have who come by and hang out with us most every weekend, or every Wednesday rather, and ask questions and have fun, friendly banter. And we just have a really good time. Pray for Jeremy as he's overcoming this sickness that he's been battling over the last week or more. And then so many in our group who've told us that they're struggling to find work. Not a lot of calls are coming in. It seems like the phone lines are dead. We serve a God who knows all things. None of this takes you by surprise. And therefore we know that your plan is for success and for abundance. So we're just going to follow your plan and do our best not to worry, but put our faith in you. So we pray, Lord, you'd bless everyone in the chat room with us tonight, and with much success and much health and safety. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. God bless you all.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
See you Wednesday.